大怪盗アルセーヌ・ルパンが残した不思議な宝物ルパンコレクションがギャングラーに奪われた。失ったものを取り戻すために戦う怪盗、世界の平和を守るために戦う警察、君はどっちを応援する？
Hello and welcome to LupinRecap vs. PatReview, the podcast that's stirring up a storm. I am your host, Lokomasi. With me is my lovely co-host, Fefner Masamune.
That's right, it's me, Fefner, the best host on the internet.
And we are a Lupin Ranger vs. Pot Ranger review and recap podcast not affiliated with Kaiket Sabat in any way.
Yeah, so hopefully you, the viewer, are just as familiar with various forms of these Kamen Rider Sentai medias. Otherwise...
But we're not talking about that, unfortunately, today. We're talking about episode 42, Lupin Ranger vs. Pot Ranger.
The only other thing I would like to be watching.
But before that, let's have yet another chat about reoccurring threats. This time, getting rid of them. No, spoilers, I guess, for the episode. So getting rid of a reoccurring threat is something that can be done quite a few different ways. In fact, I think it's hard to do it badly or poorly. But it can create some weird feelings when watching a show. I won't give specific examples because of spoilers, but I've been watching Kamen Rider X-Aid, and there have been multiple villains that have been removed way earlier than I thought they were going to be. And every once in a while I'll just think about that character and go oh yeah, fuck, they're dead. They were so important and now they're just never coming back.
Kamen Rider drove them away.
Q Ranger does sort of a similar thing. Like when we watched the first episode again, I won't say which character, but it was just oh yeah, I remember that guy. He dies in episode 3. I thought he was going to be a big deal.
They were not, in fact, a big deal.
So I think the way that most people go about it is start killing off your reoccurring characters later in the show.
Yeah, makes sense. You're almost done, so to hell with status quo. They're gone now. Deal with it.
But another thing that I think is common to just have a threat only reoccur a few times before being taken out. But that can get a little silly. With Q Ranger, the threat that I was talking about was established as being the second highest tier on a 4-tier system. And he's taken out within the first 5 episodes. And it just feels like you're not going to escalate as much as you want in the remaining 40-some episodes.
Well, some guy's got to replace him. Then if that guy dies, the person below him rises up. It's just like that Lord of the Rings game.
Yeah, I didn't have the most to talk about. Just, I had a couple examples from other Toku shows that I've been watching.
Yeah, it is a fairly broad sort of topic. For example, one that I'm particularly fond of, though I'm not entirely sure you could call them a threat, is Biggs and Wedge in Final Fantasy VIII. You fight them first, fairly close to the start of the game. They're pretty tough at that point, and you're not even the ones to take them out officially. Another guy comes in, and you fight them a few more times throughout the game. But then the last time you encounter them, towards the end, they just leave. They're just why don't we go get a beer? Goodbye. And you don't even have to fight them. They just remove themselves. But I think other ones include... Oh, shoot. I completely forget the name of the dude who did Exit Fate and the other one.
Last Scenario. I don't remember his name either, but I remember those games.
I'm so sorry. He made neat games, but let's see. So I believe it's Last Scenario, which has... I'm pretty sure I even used the character as an example, but there is one who appears as a recurring threat and actually stays as a recurring threat because in the end he is the final boss. And then Exit Fate has an interesting one because, like, you meet a pair of, just jerks. Not mentally well off, mini-bosses, basically. They're just random generals who kinda suck. Except later on in the game, they get possessed by demons and become the biggest threats pretty much in the world. And, like, the game has army scenes similar to Suikoden 2. There's a battle where you just fight them. It's just them. They don't have an army of their own.
Man, Exit Fate sounds pretty cool. Wish I'd kept playing it.
But yeah, there's just a whole lot of stuff you can do with recurring threats. You can actually make them usurp what seems to be the main guy. Maybe they're not even threatening. It's just this sort of thing that, like, because they're not sort of the main threats usually, at least at the start, you can sort of play around with them, maybe slightly more than you'd be able to with major villains. Because major villains, typically you can't really let them be touchable until the end, otherwise it might do things to the narrative that, weakens their impact or how the viewer sees them. Oh, actually, another good example, Porky from Earthbound. What a jerk. Still manages to not necessarily be a threat because you never typically fight him until the end. He's always there just being an annoying jerk. But he acts as sort of just ensuer of chaos for Gigas. And hey, what do you know? You don't fight Gigas till the end either. And then, yeah, of course, he usurps Gigas as the final boss. Well, Gigas isn't in 3 because he's dead, but, like,
Porky isn't.
Yeah, Porky is fine. Porky is the major villain of 3. But
Spoilers,
Gigas...
but you probably played Brawl.
But yeah, Gigas is the major threat of Earthbounds 1 and 2, because Gigu is just Gigas before bad things happened.
Yeah, that's always something that was weird about those games.
Yeah.
Gigas is completely coherent in 1, and then in 2 he's just totally different and gone and fucked up.
And the American audience wouldn't even know.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think video games have the most common misstep of getting rid of a recurring threat in that they don't change anything about the last fight.
Mm-hmm.
This is super common. I'm sorry, I thought the shelf next to me was about to fall over. This is super common in Dynasty Warriors games, where you just fight someone a dozen times, and then the last time you kill them. It's like, well, why did that last one change? I've been hitting them with a sword every time.
Alright, time for me to go all out. That just means my stats are a little higher than they were in the last chapter.
Time to set my sword to kill. Time to turn around and use the bladed end of my weapon, but you're using a spear.
Well, I've just been smacking them with a stick.
That's my favorite part about Way of the Samurai. You can non-lethally use a spear and it doesn't change anything about your animations. Like with the swords, you're at least whacking them with the blunt end. The spear, you're just still stabbing with the same end.
You're just shouting non-lethal as you do it.
You just say, sorry, after every stab. That makes it non-lethal. We're a little off topic now.
Oh, yeah.
Probably because I think we're out of things to talk about on the topic. So it's time to talk about the episode proper.
Alright, so... Episode 42, time for the final battle. Oh, hey, what do you know? I thought there were 51 episodes, but I guess not. This is the last one.
He's ready for 9 episodes of static.
It's just Kyrie goofing off. So, after a recap of Destra kicking the tar out of everyone, we open on Noel a cafe. Kyrie happens by and asks Noel if he's ditching work today. A bold question from Kyrie of all people. But Noel insists he's on duty, and that you can often find intel in the city. But he also recommends that Kyrie not walk around the city on his own at the moment, because Destra could attack, and they could die at any moment. Kairi also reminds Noelle that Noelle's uniform isn't exactly subtle either. They do not have time to continue their rapport, as Destra is indeed attacking. Destra recognizes both X and Lupin Red, and immediately starts shooting them. Kairi and Noelle dodge while Kaito changing and charge into fights. However, things aren't that simple, as Ghosh wanders in on the roof and also starts shooting at the Rangers. Red tries to go for the emotional victory by insinuating that Destra's a coward for having help, but Destra could not give a damn as long as he can impress Degranio. Pride went out the window after he got special attacked twice at the same time. And as both he and Ghosh start firing, the intro plays. Alas, you don't hear the sounds of battle as it plays.
Just Kairi screaming for help.
We return, of course, to a fight that is not going well for the Rangers. While X is getting thrown about by Destra, Ghosh is attacking Red while using her other collection piece. She tells him that she can see everything, and through her vision we can see an effect similar to Lupin Red's prediction ability. But she fires off a couple of shots that almost manage to land, but X dives in and saves him. X panics, realizing that she used Gueris Lamont. He runs in for some uncharacteristically sloppy hits, and when he's knocked over, he drops Siren Striker. Red gets up and tries to help, but is slam-jammed by Destra. He, in turn, drops Victory Striker at Destra's feet. Destra picks that up, while Ghosh hands him Siren. Red and X are helpless to stop Destra from placing both pieces in his safes, and even less so to stop him from putting them to use immediately. Destra predicts that Red will try to attack him from behind, and calmly stops him from doing so by just grabbing his gun before he fires. Red is hammered back over to X, and with the two together, Destra uses Siren Striker's gravity ability.
I mean, yeah, the point still stands, because what the fuck? When could it do that?
I guess it gets that because tanks are heavy?
It reminds me of, like, one of the few episodes of the original Transformers cartoon I've seen. There was a point where Optimus Prime, like, references an explosion, like, several times in one scene. Mm-hmm. That explosion got cut out of the episode. So he's just constantly talking about this explosion that didn't happen. And it really feels like, was Siren Lupin Kaiser supposed to do something with gravity?
Yeah, whenever X uses it, he's just firing guns.
And all I really needed was just Kairi go like, you could do that the whole time. And I was like, I didn't think it'd be useful. Of course it's useful. Look at it.
I don't want to increase gravity. What would that do to my flips? It would ruin them. Come on, Kairi. Think about it.
So yeah, that's kind of weird that it just has this power. But I guess just giving Destra a bunch of guns would be kind of redundant.
Yeah. So, he's got gravity manipulation. It's 3 freeze now. Except not quite, because while he can crush the two with gravity, he can also use other gravity directions. He can use it to draw Red in and hit him with a hammer. Which he does. He does do that thing that I just said. X tries to attack Destra, but finds a circle of gravity pushing him back and preventing him from making it any farther. Worse, the gravity field can also reflect his shots back at him. X, I feel like you could be putting Siren Striker to better use. Destra announces that he's finished with the two of them, and will go after the cops next, just in time for the Pat Rangers to run in and overhear him. But when he says he's finished, he's not kidding. He removes a pin from his hammer, which, yes, he's had that the whole time, and slams it to the ground. Pillars of fire erupt outwards, blowing the vicinity to smithereens, but also creating trails that extend miles outward through the city. Sometime later, the Pat Rangers dig themselves out of the rubble and find the immediate area in ruins. So, I did notice the destroyed city in the episode preview from the other episode, but didn't figure that would just kinda happen in a few seconds.
Yeah, Destra's done fucking around. He's just here, and now cities will fall.
Later, Jim's giving a damage report. An entire 13 districts were severely damaged, with Hirasawa at the center. Hilltop emphasizes that they need to beat Destra before something like this happens again.
We only have 27 districts. If he blows up another 13, we'll just be down to 1.
But thanks to Noel, Jim already knows that Destra has 2 very powerful collection pieces at his disposal. At Jur, the Phantom Thieves are worried about that very same thing, while Kogure tends to Kairi's wounds. Destra's stronger, and now they have to open both of his safes before they can even attempt to kill him. Kogure asks what happened to Noel. Kairi tells him that he went to report to the cops, but also recalls that Noel was acting strangely when fighting Gauche. Hearing this causes Kogure to lose his attention and tighten Kairi's bandage too much. Ow. Kogure says he'll handle Noel, and that the Juror trio should just rest until they need to fight again. Meanwhile, Noel and Goody are looking over the cityscape. Goody asks if Noel is okay, but Noel says that that might not be the case. And that's the scene. At Police HQ, Hilltop announces that since the police are Destra's next targets, they need to prepare accordingly. Tsukasa and Sakia wonder how they can beat Destra, while at Juror, Umika and Tuma have the same question. Kaitro stands up and tells his group that they need to get the thieves to steal the collection pieces. Sakia thinks that they can ask Noel to contact them, but Kaitro tells them that they don't need to bother. The Phantom Thieves will show up to steal back the collection pieces, regardless of what their own intentions are. Meanwhile, Kairi has pretty much the same idea. Let the cops arrive and fight Destra, and use them as decoys so that they can steal the collection. And much like Kaiichiro, Kairi knows his foes well enough to know that they will enter the fight no matter how strong Destra is. They need to uphold the peace no matter what. And, both at once, Kairi and Kaiichiro say that they're going to use the other.
They have no idea how clever I'm being. I plan for every move they'll make.
The other team. We'll use them as decoys. No one will ever know.
It would be great if Noel was at both of these meetings.
Somehow.
Yeah, somehow, they're not progressing as, one meeting happened first. They're progressing in the order of scenes shown. So he's somehow getting progressively worse, even though logically he would have had to listen to one whole meeting and then another whole meeting. He just goes to Goody later, Goody, they're hopeless. They're so hopeless.
Goody, I've had 10 cups of tea. And,
I'm about to start
15
drinking
cookies.
coffee. Can you fucking imagine that? Me drinking coffee?
It's a sign of the apocalypse, Goody, I swear to God.
Well, I mean, maybe a bigger sign of the apocalypse would be a huge chunk of the city being destroyed.
I mean, that's just Destra. He does that from time to time.
That might be a better indication that the world is about to end.
He used to do these things all the time back in the heyday. Back in the 70s when he was young and fit. Had a terrible hairstyle.
No, that's not fair. I'm picturing Taster with an afro and awful 70s facial hair. Mullet's also good. He has a headband on. Oh god, he's in a disco outfit.
Those were the days,
by
boss.
the way I use my walk on a woman's wearing no time.
He's just playing Everybody's Working for the Weekend as he drives to the DeGranio's mansion.
God, this is such a dumb idea, and I love it. DeGranio looks exactly the same.
Yes.
He's already kind of old-fashioned crime boss looking.
So he's aged well, at least.
Mm-hmm.
That night, Kogure finds Noel and gets right down to business. He brings up the fact that Gauche used Guerre Le Monde on him, and Noel apologizes. Kogure berates him for not staying at the estate in Paris, but Noel insists that he couldn't sit back and watch. But Kogure tells him that his failure in losing collection pieces could result in greater losses, and commands him to refrain from joining the fray any further. He leaves, and Noel does not look pleased. Kogure giving commands is really weird.
Especially that he's not as threatening anymore.
Yeah.
Now that we know he's just a good guy, it's weird for him to be like, I swear to God, if you so much as look at Destra, I will fucking end you.
I will put you on the first limo back to Paris.
Limos can't get to Paris from here, Noel. I'm sending you to the bottom of the ocean.
Look, one of the collection pieces is just a limo. It can drive you there. It's just the Jesus limo. It can drive on top of the water. It's fine. The next day, we hear the police's evacuation progress as the tactical unit prepares for battle. Meanwhile, the Phantom Thieves prepare themselves while discussing Noel's absence. But they have no time to worry about him, and so they move out. With both groups ready, we cut to Destra approaching the police HQ. He attempts to send his usual greeting, missiles, but they're stopped in the air before they hit the building. Destra turns around to see the tactical unit intent on taking him down. They kaisatsu change and engage him in a fight. As they begin, the Phantom Thieves approach and Kaito change. Red hands Cyclone to yellow and Magic to blue, and all three of them take their places. As the cops are getting a beat down, the Lupins sneak up on Destra. Red is on his level, while yellow and blue are ready to jump in from above. Once Ichigo goes down, Red gives the signal, and all three Lupins go in for the gold. But Ichigo sees one of Destra's safes glow before he slams his fist to the ground and creates a gravity barrier around him, which repels all 6 Rangers. Most notably the ones trying to steal Destra's treasures, but the Pat Rangers also get tossed despite already being down. They didn't need this, but they got it anyway. No rest for the wicked, etc., etc. Destra commends the thieves for using the cops as baits, but that trick isn't going to work on him. The Rangers all try to get back up on their feet and fight on, but even with Kaito boosts, things don't look great. Noel enters the scene on a nearby building, thinking about how both the cops and the thieves are still fighting for what they want. But not for long. Destra removes the pin from his hammer again, and while he doesn't do as much widespread damage as his last attack, it still nukes both teams, and also maybe Noel. This time, Magic and Cyclone are dropped, and Destra does the smart thing and picks them both up. And for once, Destra actually starts laughing. And that's when everybody knows they're going to die. You think Degranio's just fist-pumping back at hell. Yeah, that's the spirit, Destra. Fuck him up.
God, every time Degranio's not in the episode, I wish he was in the episode. Because I want to see him, like, with a big foam finger.
I've already got this on TiVo.
He has, like, the beer hat thing for his ridiculous hat.
It doesn't have the beer cans, it has wine glasses.
Yes. He's just like, Destra, Destra, Destra. I don't know what Ganglars are even left to join him in a cheer, but Gosh has, like, pom-poms, which they're just, like, on the table in front of her. She refuses to pick them up.
I feel like most of the other Ganglars would actually be kind of mad. Like, I had the perfect plan, but then Destra came in. He's gonna win this. I can't blow up a city. Jeez. I want to succeed to Granio.
God, that's another scene of like, alright, time to initiate my plan to scam the people of this district, and then just fire everywhere. Just, well, can't scam them now, I guess.
The entire screen just glows white, and then when that fades, he's just standing there, skeletons around him. God damn it. In that moment, Red and Kaichiro look at one another from across the rubble-ridden path. Both of them acknowledge that the other won't give up yet, and wonder what the other will do. Red looks at the Versus vehicles in Destra's hands, while Kaichiro follows and follows his gaze and gasps in realization. Destra's laugh overs quickly as Red shoots him from behind. We see the secondary characters on each team look surprised as Red gets back up on his feet and Kaito changes again. Red pulls out Magnum and runs forward while Destra prepares a gravity barrier. Red turns around mid-run and fires, propelling him forward. It's not enough to pass Destra's barrier, though, and Red hangs in the air. But Red is not...
Destra, are you familiar with Newton's third law of physics?
I've never even learned what a Newton is. But I don't give a fuck. I'm just gonna do this. This sounds cool, so I can do it. Fuck you. But Red is not yet deterred, and so he continues firing the other way, cracking the gravity barrier with his own body. The barrier shatters, and Red activates Magnum's Lupin Fever. Destra can tell he's not after the safes, but throws up another gravity barrier. Red's companions beg him not to attack because Lupin Fever will kill him if it's reflected. But before Red's attack charges, Ichigo goes charging in and fires both versus vehicles out of Destra's hands. He then snags both of them and slams the two onto one of Destra's safes. 3, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2. With Siren Striker taken back, Destra's gravity barrier goes down just in time for the big strike to finish charging. Destra is blown backwards, and the two versus vehicles are flung off of the safe. X leaps in his police form and grabs them both, diving in while announcing that he'll do what he thinks is right too. He enters Destra's other combination, 7, 1, 2, 6, 1, 5, and retrieves Victory Striker. Destra tries to stop him, but Noel escapes with a very ambitious backflip and keeps Destra on the ground with a few bullets as well. I do love that one of Destra's safe combinations is just so simple. It's like, okay, that's a pretty good combination for this shoulder. Just 3, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, whatever.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
What if that's just a Granio's combination?
Granio's combination is admin 1.
It's 00001 because I'm number 1.
God.
Red nearly falls over trying to get up, but Ichigo catches him and tells him not to push himself past his limits, and that he probably would have been killed if he hadn't stepped in. Red tells him that he figured Ichigo would do whatever it took to get the safes open. Blue and Tsukasa note that their plan was a little backwards from the original version, given the cops opened the safes and the thief was the decoy. X apologizes for being late, but Ichigo tells him that he knew he would show up eventually. Red also tells him that showing up to steal the spotlight is kinda his thing. X is just happy that his teammates really do understand him. The nice moment is interrupted by Destra, who does his usual missile thing. But he only succeeds in making the Rangers look cooler, as once the flames from the explosion clear, everyone has transformed. Red and X are in their super forms, the Pat Rangers have formed Yugo, and Blue and Yellow don't get anything too fancy. But they do get their roll calls, and I appreciate how mad Blue sounds. They all fire their special moves, and Destra is swept up in a powerful explosion. A very large crater is left in front of the fire. But even that's not enough to kill Destra, as he remains standing once again. He calls for Ghosh to come in and make him big, so Good Striker wanders in to help. He's already got the memo, and knows that both teams will be working together this time around. To the show's main theme, the Good Cool Kaiser VSX is formed, though this time the secondary characters aren't paired off by team. Yellow and Nigu are in one room, Blue and Sangu are in another. Red and Ichigo are used to being together, though, so they're the chillest about this.
I do love the gag where they say, like, no fighting, and everyone else is like, how dare you say that? Of all people, you're gonna tell us not to fight? We know not to fight, Ichigo.
Yellow's just like, I've got to work with this idiot. Nego's just like, well, we don't know each other at all. And so we get probably one of the best big fights in the series, especially thus far. There's actually really good choreography and everything.
Yeah, the first big fights with each mech, the first Lupin and Pat Kaiser fights are pretty good. I'm blanking on his name. Lyman.
Yeah.
The Lyman fight was pretty good.
Yeah, Lyman was good.
And this is another really well done big fight because it's just CG. You can do a lot more with the CG than you can with suit actors.
Yeah, and I think they actually did a slightly better job with the CG here than the Lyman fights. At least watching it through normally, I didn't really notice any like big moments where it was super obviously CG. Like I remember there's like a few shots in the Lyman fight like that, but yeah, it was just really well choreographed. It looked real cool. We also got a crane biker attack and a splash magic attack. It was real good. The Kaiser prepares for the kill, while Destra gets up and, much like Silver Chariot, removes some armor to go all out. From his now exposed chest, he fires a laser and many, many missiles. The Kaiser, meanwhile, takes out the Magnum and loads up the Versus vehicles as bullets. They charge their attack, and with a unified "Say Your Prayers, Destra," they fire their own beam, which pierces Destra's and flies straight into him. In his final moments, Destra thinks of Degranio and tries to apologize before he's cut off. And after so many failed attempts, Destra is finally dead. Down in hell, Gauche is at the door to Degranio's dining room. But Degranio tells her to leave him be. She does, and actually sounds sad. Degranio reaches for his wine, and we hear him pouring it while the camera pans to the other end of the table. Degranio says that Destra was a hell of a right hand. The camera cuts back to him and the 2 wine glasses he filled. He takes his own and clinks it against the other before he takes a drink. Once he downs the whole thing, the scene closes with a very angry-looking Degranio. God, what a good-ass scene.
What an amazing ending scene. We'll talk about Destra in a minute, but first thing, I think we should talk about this scene.
Yep.
It's like, even just on like a technical level, this is the first time we've seen Degranio actually drink from his wine glass.
Yep.
They normally try to be like coy about it because they don't want to risk damaging the suit.
Yep.
But this, they figured out how to... the editing magic they need to empty that wine glass.
But even if... they worked with what they had, so, like, the fact that they couldn't have him drink before actually just works. Just... Because now, in narrative, while he doesn't normally just chug his wine, he does here.
God, I kept waiting for him to just, like, throw the cap off of the bottle and just start chugging. To get real drunk tonight.
Back on the surface, Jura is closed for the celebration of the assassination of the good mobster Destra by the cowardly Pat Rangers.
Oh, that's right, there's more to this episode. I legitimately thought that was the end of the episode.
Now we end on the happy note. The people who are glad about this thing that happened.
Destra's dead! God, what if the transition was Degranio watching everyone celebrate Destra's death on his TV?
Oh no.
He just glances over from his empty wine glass, and you just hear the clapping and cheering.
When we watch this episode, I just joke that, like, partway through the scene, Degranio would just kick down the door.
Sobbing hysterically. Killed my best friend!
Even Hilltop and Jim are there for the party. Kairi thanks the cops for their service, and Noelle spoils the mood by mentioning that they did have help from the Phantom Thieves, which is classified information. Noelle, though, notes that the Juror Trio do know that he is also Lupin X. And with everyone in such a good mood, except maybe Kaiichiro berating Noelle a little bit, Kairi goes to get 3 more good glasses for himself and his 2 friends. And so, on Earth at least, we end with everyone in good spirits.
And that's the episode.
Yep.
Right? I didn't forget where it ended again.
Nope, that's the end.
You can forgive me if that the other scene left more of an effect on my mind.
Yeah, no, it was just a really powerful scene.
Yeah. It is nice to see villains, like, mourn for each other. Like, I still don't give a shit about Dijkstra dying.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not super upset for, like, Degranio's sake either, because, you know, he's a monster too, but it's just a nice sentiment.
They were pals.
Childhood friends that love to raise hell. So, let's talk about the Ganglar.
Yeah,
Again!
It was Destra again.
I already talked about the one new thing we learned, which was his chest laser.
Yep.
It's a really cool, like, part of that costume, but, like, what else is there to say? It's cool.
Yeah, like, Destra makes for a really good fight episode in that he had 2 fight episodes in a row, which were both extremely good.
Mm-hmm. It's also, like, a hell of a way to start this episode where he gets stronger.
Yeah.
Because that's what he needed, was to get stronger.
Yeah, like, he probably could have gone an entire episode without getting stronger per se.
Mm-hmm.
But also, yeah, that just helps escalate the threat immediately.
It's sort of just like oh, okay, fine. I guess we're doing this now. I guess this is what we're dealing with this episode.
Yep.
I feel like there's not a whole lot, like, analytical to say about this episode. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It is going to be weird. These next 9 episodes are going to be weird without Dijkstra.
Yeah, like, man, I can't wait to see what they're even going to do when they cut to hell. Like, it's just Degranio and Gauche now.
And that one completely full wine glass that no one is allowed to touch.
God. Degranio's gonna die later on, and, like, the wine glass is just gonna fall over after he does. It's gonna be the last thing he sees. But yeah, it is kind of sad, because, like, it's not to say they're, like, the best villain trio of all time, but even still, Destra's absence is gonna be really weird.
Yeah, like, this wasn't a situation where the main bad guy hates everyone who works for him.
Mm-hmm.
Degranio actually has a pretty good working relationship with all the Ganglars except Penguino.
Yeah, but it's Penguino, so, you know, fuck that guy.
Yeah. But he doesn't, like, he doesn't care at all about most of them, but the fact that this death is affecting him is actually really good.
Yeah. That does help his character a lot. He is the caring mob boss.
And even Gauche is having some weirdly complicated feelings, because, like, she didn't care about Dijkstra, but
No,
I think she does genuinely care about Degranio, and he cared about Dijkstra.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, plus, when you lose your rival, that's bound to affect you.
It's
Right
a
from
fucking,
episode
well, now
1,
what?
she and Dijkstra were just arguing constantly.
Yeah. Man, I can't wait for the scene where Gauche says something that can be argued about, then looks to her right and realizes there's no one to contradict her. Okay, you want to know what would be worse?
Huh.
What if Zamigo just slots in and they pretend like nothing's happened and Zamigo just does everything Dijkstra normally does?
No, that would suck.
Just every scene, it would just be you yelling, "Boo! Get off the screen! Fuck you, Zamigo!"
Ah, yes, Zamigo. He's always been here, my right-hand man. But yeah.
That being said, we could always talk about the next episode preview.
Well, before that, I would like to mention that I did actually like sort of the unity between the teams in this one, because the last few times they've formed the Good Cool Kaiser have been a little more casual, and, that's sort of been the point. Like, hey, sometimes the teams can just come together without the world-ending threat. But now there is a world-ending threat here, so, like, you know that the Good Cool Kaiser is going to be formed once they eventually can get to that point. That goes without saying, but I do love the moments leading up to it where they just realize that they know each other well enough as rivals that they can find this weird sense of trust between one another. Which is essentially the entire show up till now, but now they're acknowledging it, so it's cool.
Yeah. I prefer scenes where the characters are actually talking and realizing it through words.
Mm-hmm.
Or it can be through actions, but the whole, like, fighting alongside someone until you know what they're really like doesn't stand out in my mind as much.
Mm-hmm.
So the scene, it's good. This episode is good. That scene is good. But I see it more as, like, the payoff for, like, the Umiboshi scene or the you got any good games on your phone scene. This is an evolution of that in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also, like, Goody is really bad about telling people what he's about to do. It's like, all right, I'm gonna split the teams evenly among the three cockpits instead of, splitting them how I have been.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're gonna tell them first, right?
Nope.
What? Because, like, Red and Ichigo seem to know that's what's gonna happen. So Goody must have said something when they were all in the cockpit.
I feel like they're just used to being in the same cockpit, so it's like, those other guys can suck it up. They've had it too good for too long. But yeah, I just really like the scene of them down on the ground looking at each other. Which, that's also the nice part of it, where, like, at first it starts out kind of selfish of them both literally just saying, I'm gonna use the other guy. But then when their back's actually to the wall, they're like, you know what, that guy over there, I figure I know what he's gonna do.
Yeah, there have been plenty of Sentai teams with two Red Rangers before.
Mm-hmm.
There have been, like, sub teams that have a Red Ranger, and in Q Ranger, the 6th Ranger, or should I say, the 12th Ranger, he uses, like, the designation soldier instead of a color, but he's red.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, his gimmick is that he is, like, a veteran character.
Mm-hmm.
So he and Lucky clash over that because, Soldier has some things that have happened in the past, and Lucky is just, I'm getting real sick of you acting like we don't know what we're doing. We've been fighting for 20 episodes. So, like, there have been some Red rivalries to compare these two to. I really love these two, though.
Yeah.
Their, like, civilian friendship is so much fun.
Yep.
Will we ever get a moment better than playing some cool games on there, Kyrie?
I don't think it's possible to have anything as good as that. It was all downhill from there.
Mm-hmm. Why even bother with this podcast? Speaking of why even bother with this podcast, maybe we can talk about why we were sorely tempted to just jump straight into the next episode last week.
Yep, I suppose we can.
Saru's coming back.
Yeah.
He's just there now.
It is just so weird that these separate episodes are, not just canon, but, like, super important. Hey, did you watch another PatReview?
I sure hope so.
If you didn't, this character's gonna make no sense.
I'm sure they'll do some explanation in the episode, but it will fall a lot more flat.
Yeah. Like, oh, this character exists. Now this character's important.
So yeah, we've hit the run of episodes where there are like I think just two more goofy filler-ish episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest are just like ridiculously important episodes leading into each other.
Yep.
We have hit the point where, like, all right, now every week we're just going to have to ask ourselves, do we just want to watch the rest of the episodes right now?
I'm a professional, damn it. I can
You
totally
maybe.
wait a week.
I didn't wait.
You didn't, but you didn't have to.
You don't have to either.
I'm gonna commit to the bit, damn it.
Okay. All right. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at LRVSPR, Fefner's FFR Masamune. If you want to email us, you can email us at LupinRecap via PatReview@gmail.com. And we will see you in the next episode. Adieu.